great to have you all here for Inside Chats 006. It's a pleasure to have you all here and to close the year in this remarkable way. So first of all, big thanks to my co-host Artem for being here with us all year.
Pleasure.
And a big thanks to our guest today, Thomas, which I can hear the whole tips and tricks that he's going to share with us. So I'm going to give the word to him to share a little bit more about him, and then he prepared a whole presentation for you guys today.
Just a few slides.
Yeah.
Like.
It's 4 really important slides, if you ask me. So
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Well, first, thanks for having me tonight. And thanks for organizing the Insight Chat session, because it's unique in London and it's a great opportunity and lots of happy people in a room, so great to see you tonight. A few words about me. Well, my name is Thomas Le Bec. I have a bit of an accent. I'm British, but not only. Pick up, guess my other nationality. I'm a media marketer. Hello, we've got a newcomer. Media marketing, I'm a media guy. I've been doing media for 25 years. I've been in media networks, Omnicom, Avast, etc. I've been in charge of a broad range of different clients, local ones, global ones, lots of different industries, luxury, automotive, pharmaceutical, banking, so wide experience. And I do media. I'm a media specialist, but I'm also an insights and analytics person. So maybe compared to some of you, some of you are from the media world, but some are from a media market research background. I came to market research late, after going through the media planning side of things and account management and structuring teams and dealing with clients. So I didn't start with the market research and with insights per se. That's an interesting background that I have. What else? Well, I'm in between jobs. I'm looking for a new opportunity. So any chat about that, please come to me. I'm interested. So yeah, the message is out. Thank you very much. And then, well, today we are talking about informing strategic media decisions, because everything that we do from an insights perspective, whether it is from a media agency background or creative agency background or any type of other background, client side, product development, you need insights to power your thinking. Now, I just would like to stop with insights and what that means, because the word insights, it has so many different interpretations. It can be understood in many different ways. In fact, earlier I was listening to a LinkedIn podcast with a LinkedIn girl talking about some interesting bits of data, and she was saying the insight is that X% of people do this or da. And the guy the interviewer was saying, oh yeah, interesting insights, but they were not talking about an insight. They were talking about a stat, just a fact that was interesting, but it wasn't an insight. It didn't have anything to turn an observation or into something bigger than just what it was, an interesting fact. So I think it's the Insight Chat session, and we should maybe stop on what is an insight, because it's the 6th session. I don't think we've stopped on that.
We haven't covered that, yes.
No.
That's true.
And so, if I ask some of you, you will have a definition for insight, you will have another one. I think we have experienced people, and we will, I think, all agree that it's more about the why than the what. That's the focus on what an insight is, but it's not generally what people think. And I've worked with a lot of strategists, and often I find that when delivering a piece of work to a client, delivering some work, in the planning process or in the template or something, there's a box, and it's the insight box, so it needs to have something. And most often I see that strategists come up with something to put in the box, but it's not an insight. It's like an observation. It can be a consumer wish, it can be a consumer need, an idea, but it's not something that could be the starting point for a whole campaign or all new kind of thinking. So what it's not is everything that I've listed and more. It's not a fact, etc. It's more. I like to define insights as a fresh perspective. It's something that you stop and think about what you were looking at differently afterwards. You can call it a revelation. You can a discovery, an unexpected or surprising truth. But it's something that makes you go like, fuck, I didn't think about it that way, basically. And it opens up possibilities, and you can use that for, creative perspective, designing new content, designing specific things that are going to resonate well with a specific audience, your core consumer group, your target people. So it's interesting really to stop and think that an insight is a lot more than just a fact. And usually, all the good insights that power great campaigns, they start from a rational element, a number, a statistic, in fact, yes, X% of people, whatever. But you layer, an emotional element to it, and the combination of the two gives you an insight that is able to give your ideas some wings, basically. So, there are lots of different ways to come up with insights. I'm going to take you some slides about, the process that I've been using for years to explore insights. But it's really important to think about insight as something that is more than just facts. And there is a quote from this guy, Jeremy Bullmore. It's an advertising guy from the 70s or the 80s, and he was saying, an insight is like a refrigerator, a fridge. When you look into it, a light come out. You get an illumination or something that, it's, wow, okay. And really that's what we should be trying to get to whenever we do some work for clients or for the brands we work on, is to really get that element of information and understanding that are going to be able to give you an edge from a competitive perspective, in the way that you design your media plan, you design your content, and you design the interactions that you want to have with people. The insights are often the basis of how well you will be able to connect with your consumers, because it will, you will send out a message which emotionally are going to resonate more with them, and you can engage them in different ways. And often, the great insights are the start of, new good insights are the start of great campaigns. I can think of one key campaign that I really like from years ago. It's from 2008, so it's not new, nothing recent, but it's one that has stuck in my mind, is the one from Unilever. Anyone working from Unilever? No? The Dirt is Good campaign. Don't know if you know about this one. But it's a really good one. It's all about, I don't know if you haven't seen these campaigns, essentially the TV commercials or the visuals show you children covered with paint and mud, but they are happy, they are smiling, and they are enjoying being very messy and very dirty. And so this is how it looks. The fact is that, kids get easily messy and dirty, but the insight there is like, this dirt equals creativity, a happy, fulfilled child go through life, with exploring, experimenting, and yes, on the way, during their day, when they play, they get messy, but it's a good sign. It's a sign of an inspired way to grow up and experience the world. So it's great insights. The insight is really turning something factual into a human truth that apply, and that is it's a significant insight, and it applies all over the world with whatever background of people, etc. And especially with this type of campaigns, when the norm of your industry is to follow a route, and you are taking a different route, then you are really into something. And for example, the washing powders by Unilever, Persil Omo, the competitors, at that time it was always the same commercials. You would have CGI, 3D, big molecules on a TV screen, and some scientist in a white outfit in their lab being very serious about the severity of the stains they can remove with their advanced new formula, that kind of thing. So it's completely different approach, and you can connect a lot more with humans or your target groups. So another maybe you need to put on the unlock this. Another great one, it's Dove Real Beauty. It's a classic. The women here are going to remember, because this campaign is still going. It's about changing the perception of women as they are represented in beauty ads, instead of showing perfect bodies and perfect face. It's all about showing the natural beauty of women, their distinctive uniqueness, different shapes, different size, different age, different colors, different types of wrinkles, etc. So it's connecting with something that is changing how you see the world. So to wrap it up, I mean, the insights are glitches that rewire the way you see the world, and they have the potential to change the whole story of what you are developing, and in terms of communication, etc. So not just facts with a little bit of an emotional element on top of it to make it fly. So I've got 4 slides. Oops. Somebody messed up with this. It was supposed to appear one after the other. Sorab.
Sorab is out of the room, but
anyway.
He's also out of a job.
The point when we do insight work, and that's how I've approached it, across the years in a media agency settings, but you will be able to recognize, maybe the path that you've taken yourself to deliver work for your client is to go through 4 different pillars, and it's kind of a bit of an exploration work. It's hard work, to come up with insight or good observation, and you need to have a process to tap into the different areas of interest that could, where you could find some nuggets of information that drives your recommendation, whether it's media, product development, or else. First one is obviously, so the first area of exploration is consumers, and really it's about, in the first place, to understand who your core consumers and core target group is, and to really to understand a little bit of the why are they doing some of the things they do. So classic sizing, the social demographics of age, gender, and economic groups. Classic, but with a lot of, it's big groups. You can't do much with that. You really need to go into different other layers like psychographics, understanding a little bit the value system of your core audience. Geographic location as well is a key one. More and more years ago, we couldn't leverage this data in terms of activating from a media perspective. Today, you can programmatically buy specific areas of the world, and digital outdoor now also enables you to leverage that kind of data. So quite important. It tells quite a lot about people, values, opinions, attitudes. And obviously the life stage, which for specific categories can have a huge impact on why you buy a certain product. So for all of these, the exploration can be done in different ways. Depending on where you work, you will have access to different subscriptions, different tools, different database. We don't share the same. You will have a set of tools. I will have a different one, you too, depending on what your company buys. So it's about using the tools available. When you've got third-party or syndicated data like TGI, Global Web Index, YouGov profiles, you can leverage that. If you don't, or if you want to be more specific, then you turn to specific solutions. Picator, for example, for fast, reliable data. And I was just chatting with a CTO. Now there's going to be some amazing AI implementation on Picator very soon, apparently. So yeah, no, but specialist service to design your own customer survey or other techniques that you can use, whether it's ethnographics, deep dive interviews, focus groups. Well, the list is endless. But so this is the type of things that you do to understand the consumer. Understanding what the social affinities and interests. This one as well, we use it quite a lot in media in order to profile people. I'm not sure if it's, everybody does it the same way, probably not. But looking, for example, at, purchasing habits outside of your category, or the brands that your target consumer are buying or have a high affinity with, tells you a lot about, who they are, if they are, different types of lifestyles, really. Lifestyle statement, their behaviors in terms of just buying stuff, the purchasing cycles, etc. And obviously, what you always look at, mindsets and need states and the motivations, why people go in the first place into this category if it's not, a commodity that everybody needs. So understanding the what in terms of affinities and interest is quite important, and it's really nice in terms of when you are showing that to your client or internally, giving a good understanding, a good portrait of the of your target audience. My focus, my interest a lot is on where the consumer is along the purchase, along the consumer decision journey. I find it the most interesting in terms of researching, because when you understand, depending on the category, where you are on a journey, if it's more an awareness thing or familiarity or down to the bottom of the funnel, more intention and performance led, you do understand quite a lot what is the mindset of the person and how you might be able to intercept some people and bring them onto the rest of their journey with your brand. So of course, if you are working on low involvement categories, the purchase funnel is very short. McDonald's, I'm afraid there is lots of branding, but then there's not a lot of thinking in terms of I am going to go to a McDonald's or not. But when you work on high involvement categories, buying a luxury car or something like that, that's quite interesting to see where people get stuck in a journey, if they get stuck, or how they move from one step to much closer to the purchase, in fact, because there was an event, a trigger or something. And not every decision journey is the same, but researching this and grouping, creating groups, persona of people, and how they progress through the journey is quite interesting. And it can be a trigger for actual tactical communication. If you are, I remember years ago, some people we were seeing were just going from not awareness, they were just going straight into a buying mode for cars, and it was completely related to the bonus time of the year where bankers and things, they get a pile of cash and they want to buy a brand new car, and they're going to shortcut all the steps that a lot of people go through in terms of researching, engine, So there was then a communication that we did on LinkedIn, targeting people who were just getting promotions from different industries related to the banking sector. So this exploration of the trigger of the decision journey can give you some hints for actions in terms of media. So understanding brand consumption, again, understanding the context and the frequency of when things are bought. The time spent in media is obviously important, and also very, very important, content affinities. If your core audience is interested into topics related to home decoration or travel or whatever, it's more fuel for building a media plans that is as closely aligned with the affinity of your core target audience.
Just a question.
Yeah.
From your time at Harvard's, do you have a favorite piece of consumer insight?
The decision journey, for example, years ago, I've done some work on understanding consumer journey, and the insights, for example, is the one that just I gave you in terms of connecting, the facts with why people were acting in such a way. But a good insight from that piece of research from years ago, and we didn't rehearse that, is I remember, because you always think about, you have your own brand experience, category experience, but sometimes you are confronted with direct, consumer feedback, and you fall out of your chair because, don't they know that? Or you assume a lot of things. And from that research, it was about understanding why people were, selecting specific brands at different steps of their journey. When the list, it was for automotive, so wide list at the beginning, then getting shorter and moving up again. And some people, one person, two things in that story. One said, was asked, she gave a few, it was qualitative studies and then quant, but the qual part, the person, in the interviewee asked, oh, you didn't mention Volkswagen, it's quite a big brand. And the lady said, oh, Volkswagen, I forgot about them. If you are day in, day out working on the automotive category and you don't think of Volkswagen, yes, but that's not how consumer works. And there was another example in this survey, is qualitative again. It's A man, he needed a car, the other one broke down, etc. No research at all. He went to the dealer and bought what was available. He didn't want a specific brand or else. It's just availability of, buying a car. Sorry, I'm looking at you now a little bit. It was interesting. So yeah, confronting what you know about your experience and everything with the hard reality of how consumers think sometimes of your category, and also a lot of the consumers don't think at all about your categories. We want to think that they are loyal and they think a lot. They are very engaged, but if you there's one drawings from Marketunist. This guy drawing pictures about the marketing world. It's quite funny. And there's one about the brain of a guy, and you see the space set allocated for brand it's a tiny little thing. The rest is life. So it's always balancing what we know and the real world and what people go through. Sorry, again, maybe. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, it's good. I'll accelerate a little bit because I speak too much. But the last one is an interesting one in terms of media, from a media background. Everything you research in terms of touch points, understanding which are the most influential touch points, and by touch points it's offline, online, and all kinds of digital specialties, from SEO to social influencers and ambassadors, programs, and whatever. Understanding the channel usage and the affinity, frequency of consumption of the different media channels, the day parts, which are interest, because all of these understanding drives what you will put together as a media plan to achieve the best possible efficiency and effectiveness for your campaign. So, yeah, and the channel role on a consumer journey, where depending on what your objectives are, you're going to leverage some channels more than others because some are more suited to specific tasks. But in the end, at the end of the game, it's really to build these good consumer perception profiling so that you can create strong consumer-first strategies and maximize all these observations and insights into something that drives effectiveness of your actual media investment. The second pillar you need to explore is the category. That's always looking back at the category. The competitors, but are there new entrants? And in this world where everything goes very quickly and technology disrupt the traditional business models, you get new entrants, even if it's a well-established category. So looking at that is important, understanding the growth trends, where are the new innovations and the innovators in this category that can drive business growth. What are the conventions? Always good. Unilever with the Dirt is Good campaign. They really looked at the conventions and they didn't want to do the same because that's not how you can differentiate. So understanding the creative but also media conventions in terms of channel usage within your category is important. Understanding the media landscapes and how brands are using different channels is important. And that can lead you also to identify from an insights observation perspective where could be the opportunity for showing within the category in different ways. And if you are a bit of a disruptor, or if you want to play that role in a category, then you need to look at the trends and innovation on a category, where it's going, and also understand the trends in terms of OSEP, like own, shared, earned, and paid touch points, and where, when, and how there are opportunities to connect, depending on looking at the category and your consumers.
Sorry, maybe just a question on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. One per slide.
Yeah.
I promise. When, again, maybe from the Havas experience, working with established players, how receptive were they actually to getting some of the feedback or insights of the new entrants? And did you and the agency provide recommendations on what to do next and consult them in that way?
Yeah, I mean, if you are working closely with your clients, you are interested in what they do, you are interested in their category, so you have little antenna on your head and you listen to market news. So I guess it's a collaborative, client relationship where you investigate, you discuss, you hear about some new entrant to the market, whether they are showing in the trade shows, or you hear about a new partnership that a new brand is doing. I mean, it's consulting, but it's not in a specific way. Like the client is not going to come and often not going to come and ask you for this. You need to be proactive and look at one of the things that I was doing quite a lot is preparing case studies for the clients, like looking at what is creative in a category. And sometimes you've got some new things with a brand that you haven't heard before, and they are showing up in an unconventional way. They are a small brand, but what does it say? And often, it's a one blip, and it's a disruptor that stays at a low level, but new brands, new entrants have the potential to always flip the market, especially if it's a technology-driven market. But yeah. There's not a simple process. I think. Right. I didn't follow one. Brand insights. Usually that's a lot of your clients. I always take things from a client agency perspective. Some of you are clients, and you will advertiser, I should say, and you will know very much about yourself and how you are perceived with the brand tracking that you have deployed with the different companies that do brand tracking in many ways. So you are really looking at your brand attributes and your brand perception, and that's critical to how you track progress, and that's critical to how the big senior guys are incentivized as well on a yearly basis. So brand tracking thing, perception, okay, you really need to know where to put the focus and where to put the dial in terms of what you want to achieve next. What are the ownable assets that you can leverage to make a good impression on your audience in a category? A lot of it is, the content types and role that it can play within the category, and it can identify, white space opportunities to a certain point, where sometimes in some categories, some consumers are looking for information, but in fact, if you were providing them with some rewards mechanism, it would play better. So testing, what works and learning from, what has worked best in the past is always a part of, some of the brand insights. It's not mentioned here, but it's, what do we know and what have we learned before from previous activities that we can leverage. And then what are the current obstacles we need to overcome. Obviously, the strength and weakness of the brands in a category, and understand, the obstacles and the challenge that we're facing to drive, what we do. And then the last one, which I personally find the most difficult one, because everything about culture is about. It's all about the finesse of how you decode the culture. It's not a number. Usually, it's like you feel it in your gut. It's like little bits of information that indicates a new trend, or it's. I find it more difficult understanding the zeitgeist and the trends that are changing how people think or behave, generally or for your specific category. So understanding, how those trends. Where they come from sometimes, and how they are propagated. If you do some work on social media monitoring, you can pick up some interesting trends using BrandWatch or else to see the type of people that propagate specific trends on social networks, and specific research can be done about that. But it's understanding those cultural dynamics that play a role really in perceptions of brands and what's happening in a category, and that's from a consumer, brand, and cultural perspective. And also you can point out if you are in sync with the trends or not, if you should be involved in a trend or not is also a big question to ask brands. Sometimes it's good for brands not to be associated with the wrong trends, really, but it's a call that brands take. What the cultural drivers are, how they're impacting the brands and everything. So you can do cultural mappings to show new opportunities, that will help grow the interest in your brand. And the last thing, are there other growth trends that we can leverage from an unfair advantage? And that can be the bigger issue at stake. That can be, the wider political, economic, environmental climate, which drives what people are thinking about, greenness, net zero, or whatever. Yeah, there's quite a trend there. Do you want to leverage it and say you are net zero as well in 2050, or do you stay quiet and actually, show how you are doing actually some practical things now? It's the bigger topic needs to be taken into account as well. So that's me for slides, and we can continue the chat. Okay. But essentially, this process of going through these 4 pillars, I find this quite useful. And honestly, I don't know how many of you go through this type of detailed process, because it's quite hard work. Most of the time, you will focus on the key bits: consumers, media consumptions, category insights, and yeah, we will do the job. And that's okay for the categories, the products that you know well. But whenever it's something kind of new where you need to do more work, then the due diligence, I think, needs to go through these 4 different steps and going into all the details, because everything that we learn from that process, basically you distill it into an intelligence that is going to fuel your strategic decisions, media decisions. So this intel, you get key takeaways and hopefully good observations and insights, and you match it with measurement that you have, things you've done before, past learnings, and it drives basically brand opportunity, strategic media planning directions, your choice of media channels, the context that you're going to want to be appearing on, the types of content that you think are going to be best to resonate with your target audience. So the intra-channel planning details, it can lead to some great activation ideas. It can lead to great campaigns ideas as well. So that's why the title of this insight session was building informing strategic media directions, because it's all these insights elements that play a fundamental role into the product, the strategic product you are building to grow your business. Brand performance, long-term, short-term, depends of who you're working for or which company, but it's essentially that. So yeah, that's about there.
Brilliant. And thank you for that 4-pillar framework. That's super useful.
Not finished, thank you.
Yeah. Just a selfish question before we dive into the main question, because I find this cultural insight piece a really hard part of the puzzle.
It is.
So again, maybe just to look back at your work at Havas People, how did you tackle cultural insight? Because in my personal experience, it can become very biased based on experiences within the team.
Yeah.
So how do you look at the macro lens?
Yeah, we are all completely biased. Come on, we are in London working in marketing. It's not the average individual, and we look into marketing, so we are biased from a start point. Yeah, you're right. And also, if you limit yourself to the group of people you have around you or your friend, it's another bias. You're not looking outside of the different all the trends that exist out there. I guess in terms of picking trends, in order to avoid all these bias, is get on some newsletters, I guess, that are specialists in terms of trend monitoring. If you have access to some subscriptions like Future Foundations, or what's the name of the other one? Well, this one, for example, it's like Stylus as well. It's a good one. It's basically they are specialists in trends watching, trend scouting, and you get reports and again newsletters which are free, which are going to give you a little roundup of micro and mostly micro trends, but also once a year or every few months they build up from these to build medium-term, long-term macro trends. I mean, the macro terms are not difficult to catch. You've got key yearly reports which are free from Ipsos, for example, or all the what's new in 2024 type of trends report. You get all of these. It's all the little trends, micro trends ones which are sometimes difficult to pick up because they are so specific to very defined groups of 15 to 18 years old using Snapchat, and it's not the same as the 25 or 25, 30 or whatever. So it all depends on the target group, etc. And one thing on that as well, on target groups, I find it, sometimes we talked about consumers and how you build, what you look at, but in media we tend to use also large groups, and so many times I've seen briefs coming from client. We want to target Gen Z, right? Perfect, Gen Z, fantastic. Who are they? So great, okay, it gives a little bit of an idea of who these people are, but it's a broad group, and we shouldn't, stick to only this generic group. Gen Z they are born between 95 and 2014, so in that gap you've got people like Kylian Mbappé, French footballer, born in 98, and you've got Prince George, born in 2013. All right, the commonalities between these two are they are both rich and famous, but what do they share in terms of, what they consume in terms of media, their aspirations in life, etc. So it's nice to target Gen Z and you get the average person, but you really need to go into the details. And when you talk about, understanding some of these cultural insights, it's more than just Gen Z. You need to be more specific.
Of course.
I hope that helps a little bit.
No, certainly. I think you've told us what is an insight.
Yeah.
But do you have a special recipe to crafting a good insight?
Yeah, there's tons of different ways to do it, but I think the best one for that is, it's a book that I read a long time ago, and it's good for giving you some ropes to build good insights from a professional perspective, but also it's in your life. And it's an old book, it's from 1936, it's from James Webb Young. It's called A Technique for Producing Ideas. It's a short book, you can find it for free online. And it's essentially the step that you go through to come up with ideas. So that's why it's a popular book among creative people. And it's a very simple recipe. I'm afraid I'm not going to reveal you a big secret. It's about first the exploration phase, that what you do going through these different steps. You collect a number of stats, observations, facts. Right, interesting. You put it aside. First step. Second step is really you cluster them. That makes the same thing as this. So you cluster and you digest, you try hard to find the connections between all this. And the third step is really you just ignore it totally. You go and do different things. You focus on other piece of work for a couple of days, maybe a week, or I don't know, depending on how much time you have to turn out your work. And then the magic happens. Really, it's like this aha moment, this eureka. You are having a shower, or you are walking outside, not listening to a podcast or music, but actually an interesting idea comes up, and then it's about shaping that idea, matching it with what you understand of it, where it could go, and confronting it with reality. Does it pass the test of how people really behave and things like that? So it's not a magic formula, but it works. And if you are stuck on something at work, and you have got all this brilliant piece of data and elements, but you don't know where it's, you're struggling to get to the next step and make sense out of it, put it aside, do something else. That's the best advice. Maybe there's one advice I can give you tonight, it's this. Like when you're stuck, just focus your brain on something else and let it work. Do the groundwork so that it has the material to keep processing, but it's really this unconscious processing that I think for all the key big insights was the reason why someone found the insight. Yeah, good book.
Amazing. I think a really big thing that we all want to find out here and improve what's the best way to present those insights.
Yeah, good one. We all have different ways to present the work that we do. And some people, and specifically in some culture, the way to present insight is going to put, to fill up the PowerPoint slide with as much as you can put, in terms of like, there's still an empty space there, I'm going to fill that up. And no, unfortunately, that's sometimes how we want to do it. Like, I've done all the groundwork, I want to show that I've done the groundwork. If it's not shown, people won't know. So you want to use everything that you have gathered, but it's not a good way. So I mean, there's a number of good tips to do a good job on that. First, when you're presenting, it's always the same, know your audience. So depending on who you are presenting to, you're going to tell different types of story with more or less numbers, more practical implications or more ideas. So know your audience. The other one is being concise, in terms of what you say on the slides. As little data and text is often a good idea. You want to show you've done the work, but people won't remember all the details. It's like we've got limited brain capacity versus these large language models, and we can absorb everything. So be concise, make your point in as clearly as possible. What else?
Should we read from slides? That's the one thing that I'm always so like.
You should.
When we put things on, should we read them or not read them?
No, you should, and that's one of the key things as well. Is like work on your titles. The titles of the slides are so important because honestly, a good presentation you could almost get rid of all the content if you just keep the titles. The people going through the slide, they will get what you are actually saying. Just with the title. The rest is, so focus on the title is a good advice. What else? Speak in real language. You use consumer language whenever you write, I think is a good one. In media specifically, we use a lot of acronyms. We like media jargon. We like to, show people that we know a lot about this, but no, consumer terms is important, real life examples. So showing, seeing things from the consumer perspective. It's also, I think, very important to always, at some point, when you are presenting, step into the shoes of consumer or the brand you're working on. You shouldn't assume anything, so make sure that you always keep that perspective from a consumer brand perspective. Aesthetics, obviously, make it visual. It's all about the storytelling. I didn't mention it because it's obvious. The narrative, how you bring people from the beginning to the end. You're telling a story, you need to have a narrative arc or something that, take people step by step where you want to take them. The aesthetics of this, of slides, sorry, I'm maybe a bit of a fanatic about that, but I've seen so many people, with great content, but shit look and feel, sorry. And it doesn't fly because of the look and feel, and it's such a wasted opportunity. And on your other side, on the reverse, you can have average content and a fantastic looking presentation, and you'll get through it. It's a good tip as well. So the choice of your imagery that you use, font size, colors, make it look clean. When you watching a keynote speaker doing his show, well, that's where we want to be really in terms of delivering something, a story that is really compelling, and the visual aspect will do that. And then the last tips really is about implications. At the end, you should be clear on, you've touched the why, you touched the what, but so what? So what are the implications of everything that you've done? What does it mean in terms of action, in terms of possibilities, options, things to challenge or think about? So in order to have an impact on, whatever you are working on, so implications. But some tips to, I think, bring it all together in order to maximize the delivery of the insights, because it's all about delivering it, not just doing it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love the formatting piece, especially.
Yeah.
The team here.
I'm a maniac about that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Maybe switching lens to a little bit, looking at the future. So what do you think the next 2-5 years will hold for the insights professionals in this room? And I guess in particular, what impact will the advent of generative AI play on that as well?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think I have many.
We had a few chats about it. We are on the cusp of a revolution. Everything is going to change, dramatically in many ways, and I'm not a specialist to say in everything that is going to change, but we all see the power of those tools. We are leveraging it on a day-to-day basis, I hope. And if you have not yet stepped into the wonderful land of ChatGPT or Bard, well, you should very quickly, because it's just amazingly powerful, not necessarily super clever, but amazingly powerful. So I think generally we insights people are pretty curious. We have an investigation mindset. We like to, test things. We probably have a good DIY attitude towards everything that is new. And I think we should be at the forefront of everything related to AI. Not necessarily creating the new bit, but leveraging it to do the work that we do. And think about your work, the work that you've done today. Think about, how this could have been automated with a little bit more clever or more trend or tailored version of ChatGPT, for example. I'm sure that in the work that you've done today, if you haven't used ChatGPT in a few years' time, next year, in a few months, you will just immediately go to whoever is a supplier of that AI model. It will do about a part of the mundane work that you are doing today. So if you are creating a new market survey, a new consumer survey, and you are starting from scratch, well, the first thing is, to ask the machine to do it and then build from it. But think about data analysis. You've got, Copilot now available that can do wonderful things. Advanced data analytics as well is another integration within ChatGPT that, give it a piece of data, a bunch of data. It will correct the data. It will look into the patterns. It will point out the key data that matter, the important bits to look at, and it will put it in a PowerPoint slide. Not everything will be perfect, but the acceleration that it will provide us all in terms of doing the job that we do is mad. And think about it from an exploration perspective, where I can very vividly imagine a room in a year's time, or where you bring your clients, and okay, the topic today is not to discuss, is to crack on with the challenge that we have, and use vocal command and screens, and look into data, and do this, look at that, what do you suggest, and then you discuss, and it's an interactive, exploration, instead of right, let's have a meeting. Right, you're going to look at this data, and let's meet again in 1 week so that we see what is the data, what it's saying, and we should do something about it. In terms of, speed, the leveling up the output, I guess, as well. It's not perfect, but it's such powerful to, to do the groundwork very quickly, to resume, long reports that you never have the time to read. I'm sure that you all have a folder on your desktop with about 200 PDFs of 50-page each, and I'll stick that in for later when I have time. I'll read that. Well, no, when you get it, put it in ChatGPT, give me the top line. It's we are going to have to adapt, and I think that we are very, very capable of adapting to this new world. But it's going to, to take an effort to get used to it, experiment, see what it does well, see what it can't do well at the moment, but it will do it well at some point. So you can think about it in many different ways. Data, information gathering. Desktop research is hell of a lot of time, to finding those stats to support your ideas and the recommendation. You can think that tomorrow there are some players who are going to, who are sitting on big piles of data, who are going to create apply a model based on this data, and anyone on the brand side or media agency side will be able to use this tailored model to access specific types of information, whether it's generic media information and intelligence for work, or global word panel, Kantar word panel data, etc. You will have the modules to interrogate that data, and it will do it quickly for you in a very, very fast way. But the thing is that about all this thing is, it's very powerful, but it doesn't have a mind. It doesn't tell you what to look at. So it's still, and it will always be, at least for a few decades, about the skilled human capabilities, and where you take those different technologies when what you want to achieve with them. It's like a driverless car. Driverless car that goes nowhere. It's parked and it stays still. You need a driver to give it directions, and it's exactly the same as these models. and think about it as, Excel, for example, previous Excel, it's paper, okay, you do your thing, and then Excel appear, and you've got all these wonderful possibilities, but you start with a blank sheet, and it's all your imagination that you put into this sheet, and you design, a table, you design formulas, you connect it with other resources, but you are the creator of, what it does, and ChatGPT is not going to do it for you. You have to, get active into creating it. And that's why the prompting, expertise. I'm still learning. I'm trying to, find ways to get better outputs for the machine. But that's where the value is for us all, and that's how we will really need to, up our game individually, collectively to, yeah, to leverage the benefits of the technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
On top of that, so we all see, and we also work on tools that, so AI can help you script the survey. AI can help you to analyze the data that comes. But is there going to be a future? And what are your thoughts? Can AI replace the sample? So can we one day say, okay, we don't need to ask anyone, AI can already ask instead of that?
It's tricky. That would mean that within your system you have got answers to almost everything. Will we come to a point like that?
Is that the future or not?
I mean, think 50 years from now, it's going to be, we can't even imagine, even 10 years or 5 years. I mean, who am I to say that I know what's happening? But 50 years is a long time in terms of, like, at this point we'll have reached AGI, singularity as they call it. It's like, and the singularity will know a lot. And the thing is that they are machines, so they can learn a lot based on the data that we have, but very soon, quickly, they will learn emotions. I mean, the movie Her is, it's a movie, but emotion can be coded into, 0 and 1 bits of information. So put enough, cameras in front of people's face to decode, how they react with the eyes, emotions, etc. It will be incorporated into large language models. So you could have in a few years' time, cameras tracking people's faces to a point where emotions are decoded. So you could then have, you don't need a market research, a survey to understand why these people are not taking my product on the shelf of this shop, because the cameras will be able to say, the eyes looked at the price, looked at this, etc. And then there was this glitch in, how the people behaved, and there will be the same patterns across a lot of different people, and it means that it's related to this type of emotions, etc. I don't know, I'm making things up, but you can see where it's going, because, I mean, there's always a difference between, what people say when they ask something and what they actually do. And I think these highly powerful machines are going to be able to cut through the crap of what people say when they say that, because there's always a bias, they want to look good saying things or whatever. So I don't think it will replace all the surveys. I think you can still have a future, if that's the question you're asking. But we will see some, areas where the machine is going to enable to know things without, sending a survey to asking people questions.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So what are the trends that you see specifically for media agencies?
That's a good one, and for media and brands generally is sorry. I mean, lots of automation is coming down, as with the finance sector, with lots of trading automations. I think we're going to have that very quickly in the media world. Not just media trading, automation fueled by the type of signals that the machine will know will generate higher lead conversions and higher results. But also AI in terms of media planning. It's a very intuitive work in a way, because we're still humans. It's how we create media plans and use and choose the different places where ads are going to be shown, But it's all down to data in the background. So very quickly, I think we'll have systems that can, automate a lot of the decisions in terms of media planning and obviously the activation. It already exists. I mean, it's all about algorithm in industry already, in the media industry. Lots of the buys are powered by algorithms. So it's, new, more powerful algorithms that are going to invade more and more the agency environment. I don't know what kind of models are going to be created for that, because you've got either the big ones, the bigger LLMs like ChatGPT and Bard and Claude and etc. But now ChatGPT has announced their GPT agents that are happening, which allows any one of us without coding skills to create little agents to be tailored to what we do, to know specific things that we work on, and to fetch some information online and to transform it and to do something. These are small, cheap, GPT options that are opening up to media agency and every player. I don't know how it's going to be used. Of course, in the tech world, lots of people will play with that. But I guess that from big corporations, media networks, and big companies, they're going to be. It's not going to be too used, this one, or pockets of experimentation. But there are too many risks associated with that. So I think that generally, I don't know where it's going, but automation, sophistication, etc., and creating new products as well, new opportunities for brands to grow faster, to generate new opportunities. But at the start, there is the risks associated with AIs, and there are the governance that is needed to deploy those models within the agencies. There are legal risks associated to that. There is the ethics part of what you do with it. So I guess at Havas, when I left a few months ago, the the progress was more made on the creative side of the business, not media. And they had a rule that is used across many business now, which is basically play with it, but don't publish. Don't use it to actually, give it to your client, because it's based on AI system, so it can hallucinate. It can give you some stupid information which is not real. It will get better in a few years' time. We probably won't have all these issues, but you can trust it at fully, like 100% at the moment. So the consequence from governance and risk perspective is too high to just deploy them like straight away. Although I've heard this week, like Volkswagen has deployed some AI. I don't know if it was made with OpenAI or something, but they have deployed something at scale. Volkswagen, yeah.
Car brand. Okay.
Yeah, and it's I didn't look into the details, but it sounds like some brands, and also within the media, Essence Mediacom has done some interesting bits on creative testing and using AI to improve a product they have. So it's going there and there. It's going to happen. And from a media research market survey perspective, we'll see some big AI improvements. Back to the CTO of Picator.
It'll be a fun journey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. I guess before we break up for the Q&A,
Yeah.
Do you have a piece of maybe advice for us as an insights and research community?
Yeah, I don't have the magic piece of advice, but it's a bit what I've said earlier. It's we are curious people within the insights community. It's all about experimenting, and it's all about adapting. So when you think about the theory of evolution and Charles Darwin, it says it all. It's not about being the most clever or the strongest to survive. It's really the ones who are most adaptable. So I think it's really important to experiment with things, even if it's on the edge of your job, but have a go. I don't know if we need to learn Python or things like that. I can see that the people who are into coding they have an edge that can give you an edge. You don't need to be a coder to leverage, but at this point in time, coding skills can be quite cool. But yeah, about it's being curious, understanding the trends, understanding what's happening, where it's going, so that you are not caught by surprise, basically. and you can adapt and you can leverage it, because honestly, if those AI can cut out the crap job that we do, the crap part of the job, sorry, it's all for the better. Then you can focus on higher value work, and it's more interesting, and it's probably exhausting a little bit more because it goes faster, etc. But I mean, intellectually, it's stimulating, and so I wish we all go into that direction and leverage those tools with the risks that I've talked about. Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
All right.
So now we have a brief Q&A. One or two questions from the audience before the most important part of the night, which is the networking part afterwards. So yeah, so we have one or two Q&A questions for the CTO of Picket or Mario.
You're famous now.
Thanks for all that. Can I just ask one thing? So it's a series of questions, but they're kind of linked together. So
Okay, go on.
About the duration of everything. So we have data. We analyze it, we think about it, we come up with ideas, we get insights from it, we build a beautiful presentation, we present it,
Yeah.
we get everything we need. Should the insights that we gathered from the data be revisited, and if so, how often? Is the data that we got the insights from still valid at that point? And if so, for how long?
Yeah.
Do you communicate that during the presentation? And if so, in what way?
Yeah.
And have you had issues with this in your
Stop it.
current experience? Or how did
Yeah.
you go around this?
Yeah.
Or about this? Or,
Thank
I don't
you.
have to ask this in one question, but basically,
Yeah, no.
what happens through time?
I won't answer. Thanks for the question. I won't answer, specifically to each. But essentially, I mean, the insights work that we do for brands, it's a one shot really, because the brands are coming to you with a specific challenge, whether it's launching a new product or maintaining, the activity or doing something new. I mean, it's a one shot. I mean, the next year is going to be a different product, maybe the same category, and you can recycle some of the insights, that are still valid, because not everything changes, very often. But no, it's a one shot. So you work through the different steps to build that unique story about, what you are trying to achieve and the obstacles you are trying to overcome in order to do what you do, whether it's a media plan, recommendation, an investment into a new property, or market research or product design or whatever. It's a one shot, and it can take a lot of time, in fact. So that's why it's always very interesting whenever we do insights as well to quantify the amount of work that we want to put into something versus, the expectations from the client. How much budget is 80-20% low and Pareto law. Focus your effort on what matters, really. Don't spend too much time on building a big, huge insight deck if there isn't much, strategic importance for the client. So focus on what will make an impact at the end of the day in terms of bottom line, progress from a brand level, brand perception, brand attributes. So it's important when you go through this to, from the start, know how much effort you're going to put into it. Because sometimes, and you need to have a strategic framework to define that, how much you are going to go into it. If it's like critical key product and it's super important that that you are going to go through all of the steps or most of them. If it's, not a cash cow in your project portfolio and you can, skip some steps, do. And instead of the whole exploration, if done well, 3 weeks of work really. But you could squeeze this down to a few days if it's like, all right, let's go to no. Yeah, we just need to validate, to give confidence to where we're going with our recommendation so that we can make the good, solid, planning and media recommendations, media decisions. But you don't always need to go through the, due diligence of going through everything. Because it's hard work, really. But it's hard work today, tomorrow, ChatGPT and Excel.
Amazing. We have time for one more. Or maybe not. Okay. Great, Hannah.
In terms of how would you future-proof an idea, because at the time, like, yes, it's a lot of work. You're
Yeah.
asking someone to invest in something at a time where we're consuming so much knowledge at like a crazy
Yeah.
rate that we haven't really seen
Yeah.
before. You have huge companies that are
Mhm.
putting out campaigns that are basically blunders that could damage their reputation. Based on, I guess, like, especially with like the war and people
Mhm.
putting out like various things that's seen in bad taste, when 6 or 7 months ago that wouldn't have even been an issue.
Yeah.
Like,
But sorry, I don't understand the question. Is it more about ensuring the longevity of the work that you've done, or managing risks, or?
Well, I guess sort of like, how do you present that in
Yeah.
a way that does provide confidence in an idea that might not be relevant, especially with like,
Yeah.
it's about timing as well. Like, how is an insight staying
Yeah.
relevant?
I mean, how do you want to go with, you know, the insights that you come up with? You don't want to be on a dodgy territory, so you need to. I mean, a good insight is timeless, really. I mean, and that's the thing as well. We don't, most of the time, we don't come with insights. Let's face it. Having a proper insight is very rare. I mean, there've been millions of people before us. A lot of the human truth have been looked at, and so it's unlikely that you're going to come up with a great new insight for each new campaign. So most of the time, we'll have some, you know, observations and very good material to drive your recommendations, but not actually insights. But that's why, you know, the insights, they are timeless. They are, you can apply them in 10, 20, maybe 30, 50, 100 years, because you reach, you know, fundamental level of who humans are when we're talking about the consumers, and you connect, you know, with this emotional understanding of people. But one thing about the longevity of the work that you do, how you make it last as long as possible. What I've always found is that, you know, you work on a client, you do the work, everybody's happy, you move on, la la la. And years go by and all the good work is lost, really. A lot of the work. And you change jobs and it's lost. And so that's why also I think the LLMs and the ChatGPT's trend with your experience, the work that you've done, you will be able to carry that with you or with your company for years, so that, you know, you can design things that recycling, repurposing, you know, intelligence you have produced and you don't necessarily remember because that was too long ago. So I think in terms of knowledge management, from an insight or not perspective, there's quite a boulevard for brands to, you know, to make all this intelligence available to the wide group within the company or specialists, etc. So I don't know how, I don't have the solution on how different companies will do it, if they use a big intelligence or if they build their own or they use a new solutions that are going to be on the market at some stage. So we're going to have a mix of different solutions, but these things, these systems will soon be available, and you can already build them if you have the data scientist team, train, you know, your model based on all the data you've done already. And there's a good example of that. It's not insights, but it's in terms of bid management. You know, companies bidding for a new business, like global level, it's a hell of a process with like 200-page RFP. And you know what, it's not your first RFP, but at this stage, you know, the pitch team, they are still doing a lot of things manually or going back to the old documents and copy paste, yes, let's recycle this, etc. There is now this tool called AutoGen. I don't have shares, but it's very good. And basically, you put in all your, you know, previous pitch document, and as you build a new pitch, it's assisted, you know, suggestion, you know, coming from the different things, and it's like you build, instead of, you know, taking a month and a half to have a first version, you do it in maybe a week or less, maybe a few days, and it's very impressive. So I should buy share in it, in fact. But yeah, so knowledge management, longevity, recycling, intelligence. I think there's tons of opportunities ahead.
Thanks so much. It was a brilliant chat. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed.
So right now we're going to have the final part, and there are two specific reasons why you should stay. So first one is we are going to
Have drinks?
serve some food and snacks and sweets. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is we're going to serve the best wines that we have at this stage. Yeah. So please stay around, and yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. Merry Christmas as well.
Cool. Well done.